Stay hydrated. Stay healthy. You're probably very familiar with this phrase.
Water, the second most vital element needed for life. So the number one vital element needed for life is oxygen. And that's not a surprise, is it? The second most vital element needed for life is water. You can go 3 minutes without oxygen. You can go a couple of weeks without water. I always thought it was 3 days without water until I read a book called The Long Walk about some people who were escaping the Siberian work camp, and they were in the desert and they went nearly 2 weeks without water. Water is the second most vital element needed for life. In fact, where there's no water, you don't usually get people living, do you? I always say to people, how much water do you drink? And these are some of the answers. I don't like water. If I drink water, my feet swell. If I drink water, I'm going to the bathroom all day. Those last two answers tell me that the water's not getting inside the cell. So how do we get the water inside the cell? We have to go to the third most vital element needed for life, and that is sodium.
Water, the fountain of youth. We've all been, says she looks a decade younger thanks to drinking so much water. We've all heard this from doctors, but this woman really has pictures to prove it. Take a look.
42-year-old Sarah Smith claims drinking 6 bottles of water a day for 1 month helped take 10 years off her face.
This is Smith before, and this is her just 28 days later. Originally, she set out on her water challenge in an attempt to help with migraines, but found it helped with so much more.
We all are. Well, we also know that in the hustle and bustle of modern life today, it's quite easy to overlook the most basic element that makes up our well-being as humans. Water. Although it's very basic, water together with oxygen are very essential elements responsible and important for every cell and function of our body. However, in today's convenience culture, people would rather reach out for sugary sodas and many other artificial drinks than this vital resource. These choices not only fail to hydrate us properly, but also introduce harmful sugars and chemicals that contribute to serious health issues, such as type 2 diabetes. Amidst this growing health crisis, Dr. Barbara O'Neill stands as a beacon of knowledge and hope. Through her teachings, she emphasizes the transformative power of natural substances, guiding us toward healthier lifestyles and better hydration choices. So you might want to sit tight till the end of this video.
The fourth most vital element needed for life is potassium. So let's go back to sodium. In nature, we find the highest amount of sodium in seawater, and seawater contains 92 minerals. Of those 92 minerals, 30%, approximately 30% is sodium, and of those 92 minerals, approximately 50% is chloride. Now, because sodium chloride take up the most amount, they're the first crystals formed when the water is evaporated. So what man does is he scoops up the first crystals formed, he bleaches them white, puts aluminium with it so that it runs freely, and there's your table salt. Table salt is a dangerous salt because we now have 2 very harsh minerals that if you were to inject both of those into the blood, you would die. There's 2 harsh minerals and they need all the other 90 to soften them and balance them.
Just like Dr. Barbara mentioned, true hydration goes beyond just drinking ample amounts of water. It also involves maintaining the right balance of minerals within our system. Unfortunately, the prevalence of ultra-processed table salts and heavily processed foods in our modern diets disrupts this balance. As a result, even if we consume enough water, our bodies might still struggle to stay properly hydrated. Over time, this inadequate hydration can pave the way for serious health issues, including kidney disease and cardiovascular problems.
The highest concentration of mineral inside the cell is potassium. The highest concentration outside the cell is sodium. And in this bilayered membrane that is around every cell, there are sodium-potassium pumps. And these sodium-potassium pumps are ever going like this, maintaining the balance between potassium and sodium. But when someone's not eating enough fruits and vegetables, and that's where you get most of your potassium, and they're putting table salt on everything far too much, what happens now is sodium levels rise and potassium levels drop. There is a small amount of sodium in the cell, but when this happens, you see osmosis and diffusion happens when the highest concentration merges into the lowest. So now sodium levels inside the cell are rising, which they should not, and the cell swells. What's that called? High blood pressure. The doctor is right. Table salt will contribute to high blood pressure. There's a French doctor named Dr. Lelangri, and he's written a whole book on salt. He said, when people come to me with high blood pressure, I put them on Celtic salt. Why does he put them on Celtic salt? Because Celtic salt contains 82 minerals. It's a hand-harvested sea salt. So the minerals are in the Celtic salt in their balanced form. What about Himalayan salt? In many places, Himalayan salt is a lot easier to get. There's about 75 minerals. So it's pretty good. But I prefer the Celtic salt. And one reason is that the Celtic salt has 3 magnesiums. It contains magnesium chloride and magnesium bromide.
Inside our cells, potassium is the most concentrated mineral, while outside, it's sodium that dominates. The cell's membrane houses sodium-potassium pumps that work tirelessly to maintain this balance. However, when someone isn't eating enough fruits and vegetables, which are our main sources of potassium, and is overloading on table salt, things start to go awry. In this scenario, sodium levels rise while potassium levels drop. Although there is a bit of sodium inside cells normally, this imbalance causes sodium to increase inside the cell through osmosis and diffusion, processes where substances move from areas of high concentration to low concentration. This abnormal increase in sodium makes the cell swell, leading to high blood pressure. So yes, too much table salt can indeed contribute to high blood pressure. Just like your doctor warns, avoid taking too much salt or reduce your salt intake. Are you feeling overwhelmed by conflicting advice on hydration and salt intake? You're probably wondering if you need to bid farewell to salt altogether. Your worry is valid, but you do not have to be confused. There are healthier alternatives to the standard table, salt lurking in your food pantry. But what are they, and how can they benefit you? Dr. Barbara has given insights on this. Let's hear it.
There's a French doctor named Dr. Lelangri, and he's written a whole book on salt. He said, when people come to me with high blood pressure, I put them on Celtic salt. Why does he put them on Celtic salt? Because Celtic salt contains 82 minerals. It's a hand-harvested sea salt. So the minerals are in the Celtic salt in their balanced form. What about Himalayan salt? In many places, Himalayan salt is a lot easier to get. There's about 75 minerals. So it's pretty good. But I prefer the Celtic salt. And one reason is that the Celtic salt has 3 magnesiums. It contains magnesium chloride And this explains why the Celtic salt is such a moist salt, especially when we've had a lot of rain, because those 3 magnesiums absorb the moisture. And because magnesium is a water-hungry molecule, it can be used to help the water get into the cell. Put it on your tongue, your mucous membranes start absorbing the minerals, the magnesium is taken to the cell membrane, and you drink your water, and that magnesium pulls that water inside the cell. It's the quickest way to hydrate a body. The only time excess water drinking can be dangerous is if people drink too much at once and don't have the minerals that are in the Celtic salt to pull that water inside the cell.
Well, according to Dr. Barbara, the real hydration mistake many of us are guilty of is gulping down water that never makes it to our thirsty cells. Instead, most of it just flushes right through us, leaving us surprisingly dehydrated despite our best efforts. So what's the deal? Are we all just wasting our time with endless refills?
Let's start with that common assertion that you need to be drinking 8 glasses of water per day. This idea has been out in the wild for decades, with many believing the original source to be a 1945 notice put out by the Food and Nutrition Board, which recommended that people get about 2.5 liters of water per day from nature. Unfortunately, what seems to have been left out is the very next sentence in that recommendation. Most of this quantity is contained in prepared foods. This puts quite the damper on the idea that you need to be gulping down 2.5 liters of water every single day.
Primary way we should be hydrating is through our food. Like, you should be eating hydrating foods.
Wow.
Because when you think about it, when you make juices with cucumbers and fruits and other types of vegetables and green leafy vegetables, etc., they create water. And now that is structured water. That's water that has a structure to it. That's water that has minerals, vitamins, etc. to it. But when you're drinking most typical water, it doesn't have anything in it in terms of health. But it has a lot of things that are unhealthy. So when you test the natural tap water is, well, I won't call it natural, but tap water is gonna have bacteria in it. It's gonna have some pharmaceuticals particles in it. It's gonna have chlorine in it. It's gonna have fluoride in it. It's gonna have a ton of things that are gonna be very toxic to your body. So the primary way that we should be hydrating first is through our foods. And the example I always give people is when you eat a raisin, your body literally has to take that raisin and convert it back into a grape so it can be hydrated, because otherwise it can't break it down when it's in this dried state, no hydration in it. And just think about our bodies. Our bodies are roughly 70 to 80% water. And so when we're putting things in our body that are dehydrating us, coffee, nicotine, the list goes on and on and on, dehydrating foods, we're dehydrating ourselves. We're putting ourselves in a state of emergency, because that's the number one thing after oxygen that we need. The number one nutrient is oxygen. 3 to 4 minutes without that, life ceases to exist. The number one nutrient after that is hydration, H2O. So if you don't have water in your body, you're going to cease to exist. It's going to create low blood pressure. It can create high blood pressure. It can create other issues as well, constipation, on and on. So you got to hydrate with your foods first.
Okay.
And then after that, my primary hydration is coconut water.
Okay.
We have about 200 coconut trees on the farm. There you go.
Yeah, take some coconut water right now.
So we have about 200 trees on the farm. So, I'm hydrating with the coconuts. And the reason why coconuts are the perfect sort of solution, pun intended, is because, at the end of the day, coconut water is a perfect water. It's inside of the coconut. It's protected from any kind of impurities. The second thing is that it's flooded with nutrients. It's flooded with not only the minerals that you need, because that's what makes water alkaline, the minerals. So when you're buying alkaline water, what makes the pH go up is the minerals, the calcium, the magnesium, the potassium. That's what increases the pH of it, okay? Now, the unfortunate thing is most people are buying alkalized water. Alkalized water is when they take tap water and add synthetic minerals to it that don't come from nature. But when you use coconut water, those minerals came from nature. And so that's why coconut water is great for that reason, but it also has healthy sugars, healthy fats as well too. So that's why it's a perfect solution to the hydration problem.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So how much spring water do you drink, or is?
So then I hydrate probably with 2 liters of spring water every day.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 to 3 liters. Now I think the going equation that I usually give people is half your body weight in ounces.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I weigh 200 pounds, 100 ounces a day, which is roughly 3 liters. But I'm also taking other things into account. I'm taking into account we were just in the sauna, so I need more. I'm taking into account, did I have a lot of fruits today, which I did. I'm taking into account, did I have some green juice or juices today, which I did. Those things are going into that equation too.
I've had people complain to me, they say, I'm drinking more water now, and now I'm going to the bathroom all day. So I say, are you having the salt? Have a little crystal before every glass of water. And ideally, we should be having approximately 8 glasses of water a day. And then I say to them, and don't drink a whole glass at once. I think I mentioned earlier, I drink half a glass as soon as I get up. I go to the bathroom, I drink another half glass. Then I get dressed and have another half glass. But when I start every glass, I have that little bit of salt. So you spread the water over the day. And many people have said to me, thank you so much, that has made a big difference. See, huge water in, it's not long before huge water has to come out. It's like watering a plant. And look how God sends the rain, little by little by little. And when there's a tornado, when there's a torrential downpour, that's when the soil gets washed away and flooding can happen. So remember that with your body. Take it little by little by little by little. It is the best way to take it. Lining our gastrointestinal tract are villi. And on the villi is a receptor site. And that receptor site is to take the glucose through and into the blood. So on this villi, we've got a blood capillaries that go all the way through. Now in that receptor site is a carrier. And this carrier is designed to take the glucose through to the blood. But the carrier will not accept the glucose unless it comes with a molecule of sodium. I read this in my anatomy and physiology book. In the anatomy and physiology book, I memorized the sentence so I could give it to you from the horse's mouth. Sodium is the main transport system of glucose across the brush border wall and into the blood. And yet what are we told? Don't eat salt. Well, I agree with the table salt because it causes this imbalance of minerals in and out of the cell, absolutely. And did you know that sodium chloride is so strong it can kill the taste buds? Have you seen people that eat table salt? They put it on everything and they put it on before they've even tasted it. Well, no wonder, their taste buds are dying. Whereas Celtic salt, with all of its minerals, it enhances the flavour of the food. Now the red lentils we had this morning, a few people have said, what's in this? I've even served it at my house at breakfast and people have said, is there chicken in this? And I know why they say that, it's because it's so flavoursome. Well, it has a little olive oil, some herbs, nice if you can get fresh or Italian herbs, and some Celtic salt and a bit of turmeric, that's it. I rinse it very well. It must be rinsed well first. And I do that just before it's fully cooked. And yet, as you can see, it's delicious. See, I'm not interested in cooking up onions and garlic, and much as I love that in my lentils, I'll do that at lunchtime. But in the morning, I've got hills to run up and down, creeks to jump in. I'm not interested in being in the kitchen for a long time, and that's a very quick dish to make.
You know what's also important for your body? Your fruits and veggies. They are just as crucial in keeping you hydrated. Eating fruits and vegetables with high water content is a fantastic way to meet your nutrient needs and stay hydrated. If you're not hitting your daily water intake, these water-rich foods can help fill the gap, keeping you both nourished and hydrated. They're great for juicing, smoothies, and snacking, making them versatile choices for any diet. Take fruits like apricots, blueberries, oranges, peaches, pineapples, plums, and raspberries. They all contain over 80% water. Melons like cantaloupe and watermelon are hydration superstars, boasting more than 90% water content. On the veggie side, celery, cucumber, iceberg lettuce, tomatoes, and zucchini are also more than 90% water. Plus, veggies like broccoli, green cabbage, cauliflower, eggplant, and spinach pack a hydration punch while being rich in antioxidants, minerals, and fiber. These fruits and vegetables in your diet can help you stay healthy and hydrated, especially if you struggle to drink enough water throughout the day. It turns out, water alone isn't the hydration hero we thought it was. Our bodies are complex networks where everything is interconnected. Knowing this, we can better nourish ourselves.
If you eat lots of fresh vegetables and fruits, which at the end of the day are mostly water, then that total is going to be a little bit higher. But if you're like me and your breakfast consists of a bowl of nails and 6,000 push-ups, then you're probably going to be leaning a little bit heavier on the beverages. So if you don't need 8 glasses of water a day, how much do you need? Well, as you might expect, the answer is, it depends. Your body's individual hydration needs vary based on different factors, like age, weight, gender, environmental factors like altitude, temperature, your proximity to certain Dragon Ball Z villains, and, of course, your level of physical activity. Luckily, your conscious brain doesn't have to worry about meticulously tracking any of these factors because, as it turns out, your body already has built-in mechanisms for maintaining an optimal fluid balance automatically. For instance, when your body detects that it's a little bit low on fluids, it releases an anti-diuretic hormone called vasopressin, which increases water absorption in the kidneys and returns it back to the bloodstream to restore that balance. When that isn't enough, your body brings the issue to your attention by making you thirsty, to which you're almost certainly going to respond by drinking something if you can. There's no meticulous timing or spreadsheets or measurements or rolling 20-sided die needed, and this makes sense. Until very recently, the human body, and almost all land-dwelling animals for that matter, have had to evolve and adapt in an environment where there was no guaranteed regular access to water. So systems for maintaining a good fluid balance, even in the dry times, were a necessity. So to put things simply, yes, you need water to survive, and you need even more to perform at your peak, but your body will tell you how much and when to drink it. So follow the thirst rule. When your body tells you you're thirsty, go and drink something to quench that thirst. Pretty simple. Now, if you really want to double check your hydration, one easy way to do it is by checking the color of your urine. If it's light yellow, then that means you're hydrated, you're good to go. Solid yellow or dark yellow means you're dehydrated, you should probably drink some water, and blue means you're an escaped government experiment. Now, at least in terms of hydration, the one other thing you need to survive is a healthy balance of electrolytes. What are electrolytes?
It's what they use to make Brawndo.
In general terms, an electrolyte is any substance that conducts electricity when mixed with water. But within the human body, electrolytes are essentially rocks, or minerals, that do everything from regulating the function of your nerves and muscles to balancing your blood pressure. They're also essential for hydrating the body. Without them, water would have no way to get into your bloodstream and cells. It would just pass through you like you were a tube slide.
Is very important. But so is the salt. And again, the potassium is found in all your fresh fruits and vegetables. Calcium cannot get into the cell by itself, it needs vitamin D. When vitamin D is present, the calcium is pulled inside the cell. And remember, I showed you the other day that calcium's called the king because when it gets into the cell, all the other minerals piggyback on the back of calcium. Something else happens. I'd like to go back to this for a moment. When the magnesium's put on the tongue and you have the glass of water, or half a glass, a little bit later the other half glass, that magnesium pulls the water inside the cell. And in the bilaid membrane, these around every cell, there's a little motor. And when the water's pulled through the membrane and into the cell, it causes that little motor to start spinning. And the spinning of that motor gives us a unit of energy.
Some days you feel like a superstar, and others like you're dragging through mud. Ever wondered why this is sometimes the case? Hydration might be the hidden key. When you keep your body well watered, you're not just powering up your muscles and stamina, you're also boosting your brain power. Yup, staying hydrated can fend off fatigue and keep your motivation soaring. But wait, there's more. Research has shown how even a touch of dehydration can mess with your mind. Think headaches, anxiety, and a foggy brain. So what's the real secret behind feeling fabulous? That simple glass you may have been avoiding all day.
Let's talk about the specific benefits of staying hydrated. Brain health. So the brain is made up of almost 75% water. If you're hydrated, you're more likely to be in a better mood, to have a clearer memory, and to have more energy. Also, headaches are almost always caused by dehydration. So the next time you have a headache, drink a tall glass of water. Reason number 3 is muscle fatigue. Your muscles are made up of and need a lot of water. Now here's the thing, I don't like drinking water during my workouts because it gives me stomach cramps, so that's more reason why you should be drinking water throughout the day. Reason number 4 is water increases your metabolism and it will help you lose weight. So if you're looking to eat less food, it's recommended that a half hour before you eat, drink a glass or 2 of water and it'll make you feel more full. This way you'll eat less food. Reason number 5 is joint health. Now our joints are lined with a connective tissue, a cartilage that is made up of mostly water. So the more water that we have in our body, the more protection and cushion that our joints have, the less chance of injury. So the moral of the story, drink more water, or as we call it in Philadelphia, water. Now, if you're already dehydrated, if you cut weight for a fight, you can't just drink water and rehydrate. Your body's going to think that it's excess and it's just going to get rid of it. You need sodium, you need sugar. So if you're not going to eat food while drinking water, then you have to drink Pedialyte, Gatorade. I like mixing sports drinks like Gatorade or Powerade, half and half water, half Gatorade. Otherwise, there's just too much sugar in there. Or coconut water is a great way to rehydrate. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I hope this was an educational video and you're more likely to drink more water throughout the day because of it. It's great for you. It's good for the body. You need it. Until next time, I'm Shane with Fight Tips for the Underdogs.
If you're dealing with headaches on the regular, here's some tea. Chugging more water can actually help chase those aches away. But that's not all. If you've ever struggled with constipation, hydration could be your new best friend. Keeping your water intake up does wonders for your gut, easing those dreaded bathroom woes. And here's a little known fact. Water enriched with magnesium and sodium can kickstart your bowels and keep things moving smoothly. This life hack Dr. Barbara shares with us is something you would want to keep practicing for a very long time if you're on the journey of living healthily.
Feeling a little tired or maybe a little bit peckish mid-morning, have the salt and have the water and you'll get a little bit of a pickup. So when everyone's going outside to have their cigarette or their cup of coffee, you have your crystal of salt, your glass of water. Absolutely, if you're working in an office, go outside and find a tree. Remember what the trees are giving off? Life-giving oxygen. Breathe deeply from your abdominal muscle and that blast of oxygen. Remember what the oxygen does at the cellular level? Oxygen will give you 18 times more energy. We've looked at the inside of the workings of the cell a few times, and the way I explain it, it looks like there's one energy cycle per cell, but it is not true. So what I've drawn for you here is a whole lot of little energy cycles. In fact, in the muscle cell, you can have 100 energy cycles to a muscle cell. I can hardly get my mind around that. And that's why the saying that you will receive more energy than you expend on your morning walk, because each one of those little energy cycles will give 18 times more energy if enough oxygen is going into your body. Glucose, it can't get into the cell by itself. It has to have insulin. Insulin's the key that unlocks the door to let the glucose into the cell. And what happens with many people, before diabetes develops, insulin resistance develops. You've heard of insulin resistance? And when insulin resistance develops, the cell's resisting insulin, so the glucose can't get into the cell, so the glucose stays in the blood, and the brain says to the pancreas, more insulin, but the problem's not more insulin, the problem is there's insulin resistance at the cellular level. So what causes the insulin resistance? It's the high carbohydrate, high sugar diet. It's just the cell gets to the point where it says, we've got enough, sick of the sight of you. So how to recover from insulin resistance is to get the glucose, those carbohydrates, right down. Get the fiber up, the good proteins and the healthy fats. That's the best way to recover from insulin resistance. But you just imagine for a moment, and this is happening in America a lot today, people are not drinking enough water. They're not having the whole salt, and they're definitely not having many greens, which is where your magnesiums is. So the little bit of water they're having is not getting inside the cell.
So what do you think about this? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.